Polish farmers blocked roads nationwide and border crossings with Ukraine on Friday, February 9th, initiating a month-long general strike to protest against EU policies and a lack of government action to protect their livelihoods. Farmers across Europe are protesting constraints imposed by EU measures to tackle climate change, rising costs, and what they perceive as unfair competition from abroad. Polish farmers protested by lighting flares, waving Polish flags and signs, and carrying a wheelbarrow filled with manure up the steps of the regional government building. Polish farmers in particular have been vocal about the impact of cheap food imports from neighboring Ukraine. In the western Polish city of Poznań, farmers turned out in large numbers, driving tractors through the city. We do not agree with the assumptions of the European Green Deal. With all this unfortunate fallow land at the forefront, it cannot be that we here in Greater Poland have the most expensive land in the entire country. Many farmers invested huge amounts of money, hoping that this land would allow them to develop their farms. And today, EU officials come to us and say, you will not cultivate this land. A farmer doesn't go on strike to improve his condition or to be richer, but just so that others can benefit from it too. That is, those who buy products from us. If we produce at a high price, all people will be outraged that farmers are making money. Farmers bought new barns 10 years ago in accordance with the designs and EU requirements. Now these barns have to be rebuilt again. Who will pay for it? Well, the farmer has to work day and night to earn it. Szymon Kosmalski, a 39-year-old Polish farmer, blames imported produce for reducing prices to a level that doesn't allow him to cover production costs. As an agricultural producer, my farm and my family personally feel these effects because for the grain we produce, mainly corn and wheat, currently prices are so low that they do not even cover 100% of the production costs. I think it is 80% of the production costs we incur per ton of harvested grain, due to the fact that the warehouses are full of cheap technical grain that came to us from beyond the eastern border. It is not tested for heavy metals and plant protection products, which we cannot use, but can be used in Ukraine. First of all, we expect inspections of products entering the country. We as agricultural producers and fruit growers must meet many directives imposed on us. If goods enter from outside the EU, they should also meet these requirements. There are no such controls. The goods enter uncontrolled. We are absolutely against this and the immediate return to the customs duties that existed before the war and controlling what enters. The Farmer Solidarity Trade Union, which announced the protest last week, stated that in addition to blocking Ukraine border crossings, they plan on-off blockades of roads throughout Poland until March 10th. What's next for the central transportation port in Poland? Politicians in Donald Tusk's party have made it no secret that for them the central transportation port is of little importance. The Central Transportation Port, the world's most expensive meadow, a pseudo-investment project. That is why they came up with the idea of conducting an audit. Holding up investments under the pretext of an audit is unacceptable to us. Maciej Lasek is an open critic and opponent of this project. He is a completely biased person to audit this project at this time. 2.7 billion was consumed by this project, and I have said repeatedly that the audit is to fix this project. Maciej Lasek should audit his own group first, because his colleagues are talking about completely different amounts than he is. Do you even want to build a central transportation port or not? And you are not interested in what the money went for? I'm interested in whether you want to go ahead with this project at all or not. Is it megalomania at all? I'm interested in what the 5 billion went for, if the investment hasn't even started. I'll make it easy for you. I did an audit here which indicated that law and justice is bad and Choraua is even worse. We've got it covered. Don't beat around the bush anymore. Just proceed with the project. Everything is prepared. Just continue. You will cut ribbons. You will have success. This will be your central transportation port, named after Donald Tusk. Just build it so that Poles can use it. The plenipotentiary for the central transportation port under the previous government explained what the money was used for.
The
conceptual design and construction project, this is a cost of about 600 million zloty, because that's how much it costs with this scale of projects. In order to obtain an environmental decision, you have to study the entire natural environment of the investment area and the impact of the investment. So in this case, 4 times the area of the capital city of Warsaw had to be studied and described by naturalists. Every plant, every animal, every piece of soil, and all that data had to be collected for all 4 seasons due to different vegetation. Unfortunately, there are many indications that the central transportation port project under the Tusk government is facing either vegetation or death. Is there even a willingness to build it? Willingness is something you can have to date someone, whereas in politics, or to build a central transportation port, hell is paved with good intentions. A central transportation port is hell? We have hell with incompetent people. This idea just doesn't make any sense in business. In my opinion, it makes absolutely no sense. My position does not change. All along, I was against this investment of the central transportation port, primarily because of the reaction of the public. After all, why build an airport in Poland when there's already one in Germany? The importer may be guided not only by the issue of the airport itself, but also by the customs and tax regulations in force. Perhaps Germany is chosen as a point for importing goods into the EU because VAT there is lower than in Poland. We have enough airports today. We are close to the border. Also, no serious airline wants to locate here because we are a frontline state. For example, Intel or Mercedes want to. But if you want to abolish the idea of a central transportation port, any reason is good. One big central airport is also a big threat. You can say to yourself, let's build an Iron Dome there, etc. But maybe we should defend Warsaw instead. For 40 billion, we will build an airport. Where? In an open field? How will we get the passengers there? For example, by rail, which has to be built, and applications need to be submitted. Such have not been made in the case of funding for high-speed rail on the Warsaw-Łódź section and the Central Transportation Port Rail Hub. Applications that are unprepared have deficiencies. They should be well prepared. If it wasn't for that, they would have been submitted. It was always possible to submit these applications and try to get these funds. At most, they would not have succeeded. But just in case he did not submit the applications, so that he would not accidentally get them. For me, it is completely unbelievable and incomprehensible that we can reach for EU funds and instead we're not doing it. The new government is criticized by MP Paulina Matysiak from the left. Perhaps they're also full of insecurities. Young people my age or younger than me want Poland to develop. This is really a huge opportunity for us, an opportunity that we should not easily let go of and postpone. I don't know what insecurities MP Matysiak is talking about, and I don't want to enter into any polemics. This project needs to be rationalized. Because after all, the money is not there, and there will be no money. How much should it cost? It's not difficult to spend a lot of money. Begin the project and then suddenly find out that there is no money for the project. Do you want to build it or not? This is a very simple answer. We will build what has justification. And with or without the airport. We will build what has justification. As you can see, there is no justification for projects prepared by law and justice. And I guess that's what it's all about. This kind of stubbornness where a project will not be implemented, as it was the predecessors who prepared the project, or that we have to be automatically against it. That's not pro-state thinking. And this is noticed by the Poles, but Donald Tusk apparently doesn't care. While on vacation in Italy, he wrote the following on social media. The debate about stopping the construction of the Central Transportation Port is pointless. Law and Justice did not even start the construction. You might as well discuss the quality of Iser's electric cars. Tusk was set straight by internet users who added information under his post. The Central Transportation Port project has been underway since 2017. During this time, the master plan was created. Environmental studies and other necessary permits were conducted. The Łódź Central Transportation Port, Warsaw Airport and Railway already has an environmental decision issued. Construction demolition work is underway at the site. Unfortunately, all indications are that under the new government, the Central Transportation Port and an opportunity for Poland will be lost. Adrian Borecki, TV Republika. Russian President Vladimir Putin gave an interview to Tucker Carlson, an American commentator known for his pro-Russian views. During the interview, Poland was mentioned several times. Russia will fight for its interests, but it is not interested in extending its war in Ukraine to other countries such as Poland and Latvia, Putin said, although he pointed to one exception of aggression against Poland. Only in one case, if Poland attacks Russia. Why? Because we are not interested in Poland, Latvia, or any other place. Why would we do that? We simply have no interest in it.
We simply don't have any interest.
Analysts recall that before the invasion of Ukraine on February 24, 2022, Vladimir Putin also assured that Russia would not attack Ukraine. The possible scenario of Russia organizing a provocation is well known from history. Attempting something like Hitler did in the case of Poland is no problem for Putin. In fact, various such ideas have been practiced in Russia. So in essence, he is not saying he will not attack, quite the opposite. According to security expert Professor Piotr Grochmalski, it is not insignificant that Poland is mentioned so often. We are an important transit point for arms to Ukraine. This shows a kind of game and propaganda that Putin is implementing. In the interview, Putin presented a historical narrative taken vividly from the Stalin era. He referred to Ukraine as an artificial creation. In 2 hours, Putin has managed to falsify more than 1,000 years of history, deny Ukraine its statehood, threaten the Baltic states, and whitewash all the crimes Russia has committed over the years. This is a clear signal that Putin will not stop. The countries of the free world should unite. Also in the background are the Russian presidential election, which will be held as early as March, and the U.S. presidential election in the fall. A change of leadership in the U.S. could reshuffle the balance of power in Europe and increase Russia's negotiating position in relation to Ukraine. It is the U.S. that represents such a balance of power in Europe in relation to Russia. Without the U.S. and Europe, with today's chaos in the European Union and today's state of the army and armaments, Russia would have entered the game as a major player, originally, of course, at the expense of Central Europe. Therefore, the internal divisions in European countries mainly benefit Russia. Putin is playing a specific psychological game. He is using, I think deliberately, the confusion caused by the attacks of Donald Tusk's government on the rule of law and the functioning of Polish democracy to cause some anxiety and to signal possible threats, because when a politician says no, he generally thinks yes. This is the first interview Vladimir Putin has given to a Western journalist. It is worth adding, a journalist sympathetic towards Russia, who lost his job at the American Fox News station almost a year ago. Most certainly, Putin carefully selected the interviewer himself. A French man who spent 8 years building a 7.19-meter-tall matchstick model of the Eiffel Tower celebrated on Thursday, February 8th, after Guinness World Records recognized his work with a world record, reversing an earlier decision that had left the creator reeling. Yes, finally Guinness has agreed to appreciate and approve my work, recognizing it as the world's tallest matchbox construction. This is very good news for me. Of course, I am pleased. It has been an emotional roller coaster. For 8 years, I always thought I was building the tallest structure made of matches. At the end of those 8 years, the initial decision made by the Guinness World Records was devastating. It seemed too strict, cruel, and incomprehensible to me. I was so close, and they wanted to take away my dream.
We're really excited to be able to approve it. Like we say, when we were able to look at the amount of dedication that went into it and see the amount of work into it, 8 years of toil just to get to where he was is incredible, absolutely incredible. And like I say, we're happy to be able to admit that we were a little bit too harsh on the type of matches needed in this attempt. And Richard's attempt truly is officially amazing.
The original structure was built at the end of the 19th century and took 2 years, 2 months, and 5 days. Standing at 330 meters, the structure consists of 18,000 metal parts and about 2.5 million rivets. Richard Plott spent 4,200 hours over 8 years on the replica of the famous tower. He used more than 700,000 matches and 23 kilograms of glue to build it. He glued the last match to the model on December 27, 2023, the 100th anniversary of the birth of the tower's architect, Gustav Eiffel.